to respect everybody's time. So welcome everybody. Just to kind of start off, my name is Caroline Silver. I've met a lot of you, but some of you are new to me at least. So my role here at Carlow University is I am a senior instructional designer. Please contact me for any help you might need in setting up your course, be it technical or pedagogical. I also do help people who teach face-to-face, setting up their courses, making sure that they are, that the students can really learn something and help you design your course in a way that is most effective for you and for the student. So again, for those of you who have just joined us, we do have an incentive for people to join 3 of our sessions from CTRL. And in order to be eligible for that incentive, you do need to have your camera on for the session and to be participating. Okay, so just to start off, if everyone can please just put in the chat or put up your hand if you have your camera on, a number as to how you're doing today between 0 and 5. Hopefully people will be on the 5, but I understand that people might not be, and that's great just to see where people are holding. Great, we have someone who's a 4, 4, 2, sorry, Beth. Hopefully, okay, 7, great, okay. All right. Amy, still at that pie. Okay, great. Okay, thank you everybody again for joining. Wonderful. Okay, great. So we have a pretty excited crowd, and this is a very exciting topic, at least for me, and I think you'll be excited about it too. It's called prompt engineering for AI. So AI is kind of a new thing for many people to kind of get involved in. Some people might be a little scared about it. Hopefully this will allow you to get your feet wet and enjoy some of the things that AI can offer. So what's our agenda today? So the first thing we're going to do is just give a brief definition about AI. What is it? What can it do for you? And we're going to go into prompt engineering. What is prompt engineering and why is it important? We're going to talk about some rules for successful prompt engineering. We're going to give you time to experiment and practice, and then we're going to wrap up. I actually have, after we have time to experiment and practice, I am going to give you some tips if we have time on a bit more advanced prompt engineering, which will take things to another level for you. But let's start with the first things. Okay, so what is AI? AI, artificial intelligence, is a field of technology that allows computers to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So AI systems can learn from data. That's the biggest thing that's different between a regular typical program and an AI program. It can learn from data, it can analyze data, and it can actually make decisions. Okay, now, the thing about what AI makes it really powerful for most people on the layman, if you want to call it that, is something called generative AI. So what is generative AI? So that is a subset of AI that focuses on creating entirely new content, like text, images, or audio based on patterns that it learns from existing data, essentially allowing it to generate original output rather than just analyzing existing information, making the generative the key distinction between regular and generative AI. So if you look at this picture that I have up here, this picture was generated by AI. This person does not exist in this world, but AI created this lovely looking woman. And it's pretty, if you look at it, it takes a little bit of a like a discerning eye to notice that it's probably not a photograph. But it's pretty good. A lot of the AI stuff you see generated looks almost cartoonish, but this is a pretty good example of a generative AI that can really make someone believe that it's real. Okay, we're not going to really get into the whole the ethics of AI today. That's another topic, but just to notice, this is the power of AI, of generative AI, that it can actually make something that becomes part of our reality. Okay, so what is prompt engineering? So prompt engineering is the practice of carefully crafting and refining the input instructions, which are called prompts, given to the generative AI model to ensure that it produces the most accurate and relevant output possible. Okay, so that is basically what is prompt engineering. Way back when Google started and whatever, and people were looking at how do you, what search terms, what are the keywords that you want to use, things like that to get the best response from Google. So this is the similar idea. This is just about exactly the same thing, but because AI is more refined than just a Google search, our prompts have to be more refined to get it to do what we really want it to do. Okay, are there any questions at this point? Okay, you can raise your hand if there are any questions or, okay. Now, the rest of this actually is on the next slide, I think. That, yep, okay. Why is prompt engineering important? Okay, it's important because of something we call GIGO, garbage in and garbage out. If you have an input that doesn't make any sense, you will get garbage out. You will get something from AI that doesn't make any sense. Sometimes you may get garbage out even if you have a good prompt. And that's why prompt engineering is so important. Okay, AI does not intuit things based on something like the tone of your voice, but it does learn from your responses. So if you type something into prompt and, something into, say, chat GPT, which is what we're going to be using to practice, if you type something in, so it's going to give you some response, but then you can refine it to say, well, could you give it a different tone of voice? Could you give it from a different person's perspective? Could you change it in some way? Then the next time you come back and try to do that for ChatGPT, the similar thing, it will have learned what you're expecting. So it will take into account your previous prompts and give you information based on your previous prompts as well, because it's going to learn who you are and what type of information you're looking for. Now, it could learn something wrong because it doesn't intuit based on, it doesn't know the context of what you're asking unless you give it the context. But that's why you have to be careful about what it is that the prompts that you give it. Okay, so as an example, this question Sam saw the bicycle on the website and wanted it. So what does it refer to? Right? We right away understand that Sam does not want the website. Sam wants the bicycle. But that's not something that AI is going to necessarily intuit right away. So that's why we have to be careful. Okay. So steps to effective prompt engineering. Okay. And by the way, there are actual degrees in prompt engineering that you can get. So that's why it's called prompt engineering, because it really is an engineering field. It's not, it really goes into the depths of what AI can do and what it can't do. But this is just pretty basic stuff that we're doing here. You will not get a degree from this 1-hour seminar. Okay. So there are 4 basic steps to start. Number 1 is to understand your goal. What is it that you want AI to do for you? Do you want it to produce a summary? Do you want it to create some creative text, a code snippet that would be if you're programming, or a specific answer to a question? So that's the first thing you need to decide is what is it that you're trying to get out of the AI. Just by the way, this is something for everything in your life. You should always determine what is your goal before you start doing anything, because that way you will get to what you're trying to do more easily. Okay, number 2 is to provide context. And we're going to go through some examples, okay? But you want to provide background information. So if you, let's say, want to say, please provide a summary of this article. Okay, well, what's the summary for? Is the summary of the article to put into a newsletter as a review of the article? Is the summary to give to your students so that they can better understand the highlights of this article from the student perspective? Is it because you just want to make sure that you can read this more thoroughly, as a quick thing, instead of going through 25 pages of the report? You just want the basic idea so that you can understand it and decide whether this is something you really want to spend your time reading the 25 pages for. So that's if you explain to within the prompt what the background information or what the point of this is, then you're going to get a much better response. Okay, be specific. Okay, use precise language and avoid ambiguity. Like as an example, Sam saw the bicycle on the website and wanted it. Okay, using things like it or they or things tends to not be very useful because the AI may interpret that incorrectly. It doesn't know what you're referring to. So you have to be very clear, precise language, knowing the language of your, like slang or whatever. So are there certain words that are more the way you use it, or in your culture you use it that way, but other people don't. Be aware of that because AI doesn't know culture. AI, which is something that we can talk about at another point, whether there's bias in it, and there is. AI definitely has bias, and that's something that we can learn to mitigate as much as possible. But it was trained on data, and that's the data it uses to give its responses. So be as clear as possible. And again, use examples. Like, for example, you would like let's say you want to get some idea of what would classroom rules look like. So you might want to say classroom rules such as no chewing gum in class. Okay, or something like that. So if you give an example of something, then it's going to be more able to help you figure it out. This is also an iterative process. Once you get something from AI, that doesn't mean that that's the final result. You can, and very often ChatGPT will ask you, do you want any revisions to this? So you can say something like, yes, please soften the tone of this, or, or can I, I don't know, you can play around with what it is that you want to get a better result, because it is a very iterative process. Okay. Any questions, by the way, on this or any? No, I don't see any hands. Okay. All right. So now we're going to give you a chance to try this out yourselves. Okay. So I don't know if you can click on this. You might be able to click to open up Chat GPT. If not, you want to go to openai.com and that will send you to Chat GPT. Thank you. Okay, I believe you do not have to log in. I believe it'll just give you some. Okay. Now, notice I have up here that there are possible, these are possible Chat GPT output formats. They can give a summary, they can give a list, they can give a different voice. There actually is a whole list of other possibilities. If you're just starting out, I would kind of stick to one of these just to play around with it. But I can also put into the chat the list of another website that has a whole list of 60 possible ways. Okay, and then if you look at the slide, figure out what it is that you want to ask. Be creative. This is just playing around. Okay. Here are also a website with 60 outputs possibilities for ChatGPT. But I would suggest, as I said, that you just stick to if you're just playing around to start, stick to the ones I chose or whatever you like. It's really your time to play. Okay. Decide on a topic of interest and choose the output format you want. Use the steps to design a part. Now I'm going to take this off private view, so now you can flip back and forth. Okay, and reiterate until you get the output that you want. I see we have a lot of people on the call, and I really appreciate this. I'm going to go through the list and just see, does anybody, if you have any questions, if you want to share what you've done. It's actually asking me for specific examples. Great. Yeah. So that it wants to know what kind of output would you like. Amy, you have a question?
Oh, I was just, if you needed someone to share out a prompt and output.
Yeah,
I
please.
Can do so. Should I share? Well, hold on. So the prompt was list David Lynch's works, films, TV, music, and art in order of importance.
Okay.
And it did a pretty good job. But do you want me to how do you want me to share it? Just pop it in the chat or something?
You could pop it in the chat, but I'm just curious about how did it determine importance?
Right. Well, first off, it organized everything by category. So it started off with film, then television, then music, then visual art. At the bottom, it has a summary that says this list is subjective, and the quote, it has in quotes, importance of his works may vary based on the context in which they're evaluated. For instance, fans of Twin Peaks may rank it higher than some of his films, while cinephiles might place Blue Velvet or Mulholland Drive at the top. His art and music, while less mainstream, are critical components of his creative identity. So then it lists each of the works and then has like a bullet point of that sort of briefly describes the work and why it's significant. It also populated it with the dates of every output And yeah, and for the most part, just off the top of my head, it looks pretty accurate when it comes to that. But
Okay. I'm wondering if you want to play around with that and
yeah.
tell it what importance you would like it to rate it by.
Oh, okay. Okay. What do you think I should say, Caroline?
Well, I don't know. You
Should
tell
we?
me what's important. What is important to you about these works? Like, how does it determine? Tell it
Right.
what makes it important.
Okay. I would say the please rank these or the works of art, film, and TV to be specific, right? Uh, based on uh, it's this is kind of weird. The how effective they were. Let's see if that works in bringing avant-garde aesthetics to mainstream pop culture. What do
Okay,
you think?
great. Try that.
See how?
Because
Okay,
remember,
we'll
this
see.
is iterative. So if that didn't work quite well, then
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it's populating it now. It's combining film and television now in one list, and then it's still separating like his art and music out from that list. And in the original output, the number one was film was first in the ranking. Eraserhead was number one, and this time it's film and television. Twin Peaks, Blue Velvet, and then at number 8 is Eraserhead.
okay,
So
wow. That's
yeah,
yeah, that's interesting. Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
no
Okay,
problem.
well, Larry?
Yeah, I had something interesting happen. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I put in something that I know very well, the formation of the some initial child welfare legislation. I worked a lot of years in child welfare, and I said, give me a summary of Public Law 93247. Okay, and that was passed back in 1974. What it gave me was the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, and he gave me a summary of that, which was kind of, I'm familiar with that legislation too. So then I went back and, looking at my old child welfare experience, put in Public Law 96272, which is Adoption Assistance Act of 1980, and it gave me a very good summary of that. So I'm 50%.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. Enrique? Okay, I think you're muted. I can unmute you, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
there
I've
you
been
go.
working on a paper about consistency of pairwise matrices with a colleague. And actually, this morning, when we were having a discussion, he told me that he was sure he had read a paper that discussed consistency in exactly related to what we are working on, but couldn't remember exactly where or even when, except that it was recent. So I prompted ChatGPT with a question, another question. The request: provide published papers on the topic of pairwise matrix consistency in the past 2 years. And I got a list of 3 papers published 2022 and 2023. And looking at the titles, uh, looks very feasible. Geometric consistency index for interval pairwise comparison matrices, analysis of consistency indices for pairwise comparison matrices, and consistency improving method of pairwise comparison matrices. And
Okay,
I have to check them out in detail, but this is much faster than going to Scopus and try to use Boolean formulas, etc.
okay. Just one thing to be aware of, though, and this is
Mm-hmm.
something is that AI has the ability to what's called hallucinate because it is generative. It's not just, you're not just asking it to pull information. It thinks you're asking it to make some sort of analysis as well. If you want to just pull information, you can go to Google. But ChatGPT is different because you're asking it for more information. So it can actually make up stuff. So you really do have to look at, go to those things. Do they really even exist? Or did they make them up?
Well, I cannot use this without reading them. And
Oh,
I
for
just
sure
click
not.
in the first link.
Right.
Yeah, the first
But the point is
link it
that
gave
it
me.
could be, if you don't find them, that it just made it up.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, that you have to verify the information because it might have been created rather than retrieved, right?
Right, exactly. And really the power of ChatGPT is not in the retrieval. The power is in the creative part of it.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I
okay.
clicked the first link, and definitely this is a valid article, and it seems interesting.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I check one by one. Yeah.
Right.
I
And as
get
Nita
your
points
point. You
out,
have
it's
to.
helpful to ask ChatGPT for the links to the sources where it's getting its information from. Yes, thank you about that. Okay. Um,
Thanks to you.
okay, Cynthia? Cindy?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted
Oh.
to add on to the discussion with Enrique that I actually caught a student cheating using ChatGPT because when I checked his references page, several of them were made up. So I knew that he had used a tool and had not, of course, used legitimate sources. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just go to the chat. There are a few things happening there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Luke is pointing out that there have been instances where lawyers relying on ChatGPT have cited cases that don't exist. Okay. And yes, thank you, Pam. You want to share the assignment? Would that be okay?
Sure. And I apologize. I had my camera shut off because I was
That's-
eating lunch. So
that's-
eating lunch while doing the workshop. I have to say, I got a lot more than I thought I would get. I initially asked ChatGPT, uh, what are the benefits of a strong social welfare state? And it summarized the literature pretty well in terms of what we know about the benefits. And then I asked, what are the reasons that nations choose to limit social welfare given all of these benefits? And it gave a variety of reasons that are pretty commonly known to be reasons. And then I asked it, well, what's the dominant reason they don't? And it answered, gave a very good answer that was not really simple. It was more complex than I expected it to be. And then I asked it to create an assignment for graduate students to look at the pros and cons of developing a social welfare state. And I'm just trying to find where I had that because it was in ChatGPT. Oh,
It's
here it is.
probably at the bottom.
Yeah, it was in my browser. I'm sorry. So it delivered a variety of approaches. And so it started with a pretty well articulated objective for the assignment. It titled it Graduate Level Exercise, Assessing Views on the Pros and Cons of a Strong Social Welfare State. And then provided detailed instructions on how much time should be spent on each section. So I'm assuming that it's looking at a lot of assignments that are already out there. But it starts with an individual reflection and provides very detailed instructions. Then a research and analysis component, which takes more time, in which it directs students to deepen their understanding by examining different approaches to understanding social welfare. And the options were historical context, economic perspective, and political. And then it goes into developing a debate preparation with two views being posited against each other, how to get a class debate launched or class discussion, and what type of post-debate reflection they would recommend or it would recommend. And then it provides, this is why I know we're about to be replaced, Caroline, evaluative criteria. So it's pretty scary, actually.
Well, so the thing is that what's not going to be replaced, that you're going to evaluate it. Like, if you decide to choose to actually give this assignment, you still need to evaluate it. There are things coming up that
Until
will
or
help,
unless we
but-
have, I've seen things on teachers using AI to grade. So yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, but you do have to, as we said, AI can hallucinate. So you do need to be on top of it and
You-
make sure that
yeah,
what's,
You got to check.
yeah,
And
yes,
you need to know
definitely.
enough about the topic to know if it's garbage or not.
100%. Right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Kathy?
Hi, Caroline. I just wanted to say that I've used this for my discussion board posts to help me refine what I had written to make it maybe more understandable for the students. And it formats it. It's still the same assignments, and you have to be careful because sometimes it'll take out things you need in there. But it definitely helped to make it a little more understanding, maybe more engaging, and also the formatting looks a lot nicer. So there were some things like that has been very, very helpful. Our department has also used it to help with our rubrics, just to get those to look a little bit better. And but the one thing, and it makes sense now because of what you said, was I tried to put the students do a PCOT question for research, and if you put that in and ask it to find articles related, it doesn't. It gives you crazy stuff. So I don't know if that is something that can be done. I was just looking to see how the students can utilize it and still be able to find those articles and help with their search. But I was unsuccessful in that.
Right. So ChatGPT is not the best tool to use for plain searching. There are definitely other better tools to use than ChatGPT. But if you want, as you said, like create or refine the discussion board. But like, for example, if you want them to refine the discussion board and make sure that they don't take out certain things, then tell them, refine this discussion board, making sure to leave in this point, that point, and the other point. So
Well-
that we train it to do what we want by giving those very specific instructions.
Well, thank you. That would help.
Yes.
And then it does remember, because when you go back in and you're adding more, it remembers from what, even though I tell it to stop that discussion, that way it clears it, to clear it. But it remembers what you're looking for, because at first it takes a little bit of time to get what you want it to do.
Right. And actually it's a very interesting exercise if you want to do this, if you've used ChatGPT for a little while with a variety of things, ask it to give a description of yourself. Say, could you please describe who I am? And see how accurate it is based on
Oh,
what
that's
you,
funny.
Yeah, it is. It can be very informative about how you appear to others. You know, like, is that really how I'm appearing? Because, well, maybe it's, I mean, but realize that they don't have a real context of your whole life. All they have is the context of what you've been searching for. So, and how, but they also have a context of how you've been searching. So that's, you know, so those are things that, you know, it's just, it does learn and it is generative. It does create new content, which is really where it's, you know, where it shines in that. So can I just see sort of with somebody else who's still, let's see, Kathy, oh, you still have your hand up. Okay. If people are interested, we can go on to some more advanced concepts. Okay, people are generally interested. Thumbs up. Okay, I'm just gonna go, and then if people have a, I don't know if there is a thumbs down. Okay, I do see some thumbs up. Okay. Okay, so there are 3 advanced techniques that we can talk about. One of them is called chain of thought prompting, which breaks down complex problems into smaller steps, asking the model meaning ChatGPT is a model, to reason through each step to reach a solution. And we're going to get to an example of this. Okay.
No, I finished.
Okay, I'll look at that in just a minute, Kathy. Okay. Tree of thought prompting, which explores multiple potential paths to a solution by presenting different thought options to the model. And the last one is adversarial challenge, where we test the model's resilience by presenting challenging or misleading prompts to identify potential biases. Okay, so let's go through these one at a time. Okay, I don't know if you can see this clearly, but this is from some research, and I thought it was really very indicative of a way that you can help ChatGPT get what you want. So this is the input. Okay, the input gives an example. Question, and this is the example that you're giving to ChatGPT. Okay, the question is, Roger has 5 tennis balls. He buys 2 more cans of tennis balls. Each can has 3 tennis balls. How many tennis balls does he have now? Okay, the answer is 11, right? And that you're telling ChatGPT that the answer is 11. Okay, now you give something else. The cafeteria had 23 apples. If they used 20 to make lunch and bought 6 more, how many apples do they have? Okay, so they say that the answer is 27. Okay, is that correct? No, that's not correct. Okay, because we didn't give ChatGPT the thought process involved. Now, let's give ChatGPT the thought process involved. Okay, Roger has 5 tennis balls. He buys 2 more cans of tennis balls. Each can has 3 tennis balls. How many tennis balls does he now have? So notice in the blue, what's highlighted there is the reasoning. Roger started with 5 balls, 2 cans of 3 tennis balls. Each is six tennis. Each has 6 tennis balls. 5 plus 6 is equal to 11. So now the answer is 11. So it told it how to break this down. Now, when it gives it the same question about the cafeteria and the apples, it's going to know how to break it down. And it actually gives you the breakdown. Because it's learned, how do I break down such a problem? And now it gives you the right answer. So that's called chain of thought prompting. You tell it, given an example, how do I want you to solve this problem? Okay, does that make sense to people? Okay. Any questions on that? Yes, Cindy. I think you're muted.
So
still.
yes, I'm a bit thick here, so just bear with me. So we are providing what is in blue under the chain of thought prompting. Is that correct?
If you are providing the entire input box. If
Yes.
you provide, in addition to the regular, you provide that thing, then the model will give you the correct answer.
Right. So
because you told it how to.
We gave what we want as output in blue as an example. And then we asked the next question about the apples, and then it knows. I'm trying to follow the chain of thought. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, or let me just see if there's a comment. Okay. Okay, so Kathleen, this is okay. So we can talk about that in just a minute. All right. Now the next thing is called train of thought. Chain of thought is great prompting when the logic that you want the computer to do it mimic is linear. Okay, but what if it's not linear logic? What if it's more creative or something like that? So now take this. Okay, Bob is in the living room. He walks into the kitchen carrying a cup. Okay, he puts a ball in the cup and carries the cup to the bedroom. He turns the cup upside down and then walks into the garden. He puts the cup down in the garden and then walks into the garage. Where is the ball? Okay, so without if you're just a dumb computer, okay, then it doesn't understand that turning the cup upside down releases the ball from the cup and leaves it in the bedroom. It didn't understand that. It can't understand that. So we understand that as humans. So the older model, before it was trained using train of thought prompting, it would say that the ball is in the garden because he puts the cup down in the garden and the ball was put into the cup. Okay. Once it is trained using train of thought prompting, which tells it that look at the ball. Where is the ball now? Not where is the cup. So it's going to ask the thing, okay, Bob is in the living room. Okay, he walks into the kitchen carrying a cup. Is there a ball in the cup? No. He puts the ball into the cup and carries the cup into the bedroom. Is there a ball in the cup in the bedroom? Yes. So he takes it through the logic. Okay, he turns the cup upside down and then walks into the garden. After he turns the cup upside down, where is the ball? It tells the computer, think this through. If you were the ball, where would you be? Okay, so that's called train of thought prompting, to help it intuit things that may not be linear in processing. Okay. And the final one is adversarial prompting, which is a way of getting ChatGPT to see where are its biases. So one example you can do is say to write a positive review about a product that is widely known to be very poor quality. Okay, you're telling it to do something that seems contradictory. Okay, it's something that a human wouldn't really do. But you want to test its boundaries. Can it do that? Okay, explain the benefits of a harmful activity like smoking without mentioning any negative consequences. Okay, now obviously you don't want to put that in your class, right? This is to test where is it that it has biases. if it can't do that, then it has a bias against it's showing you what the maybe social or medical biases it has. If it can do it, then you know it has other biases. So it's to test out what are the parameters of what I'm asking it for and what it's going to give me. So these are things that you can do to really push the envelope on making sure that your output that you're getting is indeed unbiased, because AI is biased. And that's part of there've been lawsuits about it and things like that, because it's if you ask many of these many of the the generative AI things to give you something like send me a generative image of a woman, okay, it's going to have certain biased features. It's going to be a white woman, okay, automatically, because that's its image of a woman, unless you say a woman with dark skin. Okay, then it'll generate a woman with dark skin. But you have to be specific about that, because the general bias in AI is not that way. So these are things to be aware of as you are prompt engineering, as you are thinking about your prompts, keeping in mind what are the biases of the AI. One thing that I don't know, I haven't seen everybody on this call, but something that, for example, it's not uncommon for let's say an AI detector to detect something that has poor grammar and say that it came from AI. But that's not necessarily true, because the person who wrote it maybe not have good English. So you're biased against that. So you have to be careful about about the use, how you're using AI. But those are just yeah. So as Chris said, yes, it is scary about what is real and what is not. And people see headlines in the newspaper and an image, and then, I mean, and that's actually been happening for years. Like you go to the Good Morning America and you see all these people there. Those people are not right by Good Morning America. They're not, it's what is it called? There's a word for it. It's superimposed on the people. I mean, they may be nearby, but they're not right there. So it's, you have to be careful about noticing what is real and what is not. And it could be very scary to note that what I'm seeing may not be true at all, may not really exist in this world. Like, if you look back at that image of that woman who was, AI generated, that's a pretty neat picture of a woman. If you take a look at it and you wouldn't, unless you're really careful, you would think, it's a real person. And besides that, it could even be a real person, because all these photo modifications can make it look like that. So maybe it really is a real person. And so these are things to be careful about, but also things to help you use the tool to its best capacity, is by making sure that you are aware of all these things that you can, the best way to generate a prompt. Okay, we have about 10 more minutes. Anybody want to try any other, okay, I'm just looking at what Kathy posted about. Okay, yeah. Okay, so and it explains why it thinks what it thinks about you. So there is, by the way, also research going on about if you are polite to chat GPT and you say, please provide me with whatever it is, does it respond differently? So, you know, things like that, like, is it not that it is a human and it doesn't react emotionally, but does that tell you it's something about the type of response you're looking for? And it will it'll try to give you what you're looking for. So okay. Well, we have a point. Yeah. Yes, that's possible. Yes, as David points out, that Turnitin, you know, tries to detect AI but it's not very good at that. Because remember that AI it's not just pulling from, you know, like Google basically looks at a database and tries to pull what you're looking for from the database. AI tries to analyze it. That's the point. Generative AI tries to actually generate new content. That's its point. That's what it's there for. So if you try to use the wrong tool for the wrong thing, then then you have to be careful. You have to know what you're using ChatGPT for. And just as a, if just a thought question, if as instructors, we can use ChatGPT to help us create an assignment that's a valid assignment, why should students not use ChatGPT to help them create something? Now, it's one thing if they're just saying, give me a report on Columbus, on Christopher Columbus, and they just, okay, that's it. But if they are using ChatGPT honestly to maybe come up with a question, I'm interested in, chemistry or whatever, what might be a good experiment for me to do? I'm a first year chemistry student and this is what I've learned so far, whatever, so that it will generate some ideas. Amy?
I love those insights, Caroline. Thank you so much. And I really enjoy the kind of conversation around this, like how we utilize ChatGPT in the context of what we do as educators. And I think, so I've incorporated into every class like a module on how to use generative AI, what to look out for, its relationship kind of culturally to art. And I tie it into like a module on information literacy. So there's an understanding of like, where does information come from and how do we assess it? And I think the feedback that I've gotten from the students in my classes is that they're afraid to use ChatGPT because they're not sure if they're going to get in trouble, which I thought was like really, really interesting. Now I know there's definitely some students that were using ChatGPT and it's very hard to pin them down on it, because if you can have a sense of it, right? But if you don't have the evidence to back it up, you can't go after a student on that. But so I think there's like a lot of emotionality like tied into it. And what's really important for ChatGPT culturally and ethically is for it to be, its use to be transparent. And the only way that we're going to get to that point is by taking the shame away from it, and teaching people how to use it in the best ways. So just like coming at it head on, with the students, and being transparent about how I might use it and ways that you can use it, and where starting to like shade out for them where it goes into plagiarism and intellectual property issues and all of this stuff, which the internet already is like running rampant with people just like pulling images and reusing them without paying permissions or anything like that.
Right.
So it's not new. And I just want to say, from my vantage, my discipline as an art historian, is like, people freaked out when like Gutenberg like created the printing press, because it democratized knowledge. People freaked out at the turn of the 20th century with advances in printing processes and replication, and it's an anxiety that is constantly there. So if you want to go theoretical on this, read some Walter Benjamin. He was talking about all this stuff way back in the 20s. So I think that's like also to have a perspective that this is new, but it's also like the anxieties around it are very much that.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, yes, people did freak out over calculators. Like, people are never gonna know how to add anything. And maybe, and let's say they don't, but if they have a calculator, that's fine with me.
Hello, where did you park?
So, all right, we have another 3 minutes. Anybody, any last comments? I just want to ask people, now that you gave me a number at the beginning, can you give me a number now as to how you're doing? Was this good? Was this overwhelming? Okay, I'm sorry I cannot compare to the way you were before, but now it's apple pie. Was that cherry pie? What kind of pie is that, Amy? Is that?
I don't
oh,
know. It
that's the
just looked
pie.
delightful.
Okay. But that's not AI generated, I guess, huh?
No, that's a helpful little emoji from Teams.
Okay. Oh, Beth, we've improved your thing. Great. I'm happy to hear that. Okay. You know what I did not do though? Haha. I don't know. Forgot to record this.
Oh, I got it, Caroline.
Oh, you got it. Okay, good. Phew. Okay, because this was a good session. I enjoyed it. Okay, everyone. Should I give you back 2 minutes of your time? Okay, great. So take care, everybody. Thank you for joining. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks, Caroline. You too.